I always dreamed of a quiet life, a retreat from the city's endless noise. When I found the old house, tucked away miles down a forgotten country road, it felt like a dream come true. It was cheap, almost suspiciously so. The realtor mentioned the previous owner, a reclusive artist named Elias Thorne, had simply vanished. People assumed he just packed up and left, seeking new inspiration. The house had been empty for years, a silent monument to his forgotten life. I bought it without a second thought, captivated by its rustic charm and the promise of solitude. The first few weeks were idyllic. I spent my days patching up the weathered porch and my nights listening to the symphony of crickets. But then, the quiet started to feel heavy. It began subtly. A floorboard creaking upstairs when I was downstairs. The scent of turpentine, sharp and chemical, lingering in the air for a moment before disappearing. I dismissed it as my imagination, the house settling, old memories trapped in the walls. Then came the whispers. Faint, like the wind sighing through a keyhole, but they almost sounded like my name. One night, I woke up, heart pounding. A scraping sound was coming from the attic, a rhythmic, grating noise that sent a shiver down my spine. Gathering my courage and a heavy flashlight, I climbed the rickety pull-down stairs. The attic was a graveyard of forgotten things, draped in cobwebs and dust. In the center of the room, covered by a stained canvas sheet, was a large, ornate easel. The scraping had stopped. I pulled the sheet away, and my breath caught in my throat. It was an unfinished painting. A dark, chaotic swirl of blacks and deep blues, depicting a desolate landscape under a starless sky. But it was the figure in the painting that held me captive. It was a tall, slender silhouette, almost formless, a being made of pure shadow. There were no features, no face, just an unnerving emptiness where a head should be. I felt an inexplicable dread looking at it, a feeling of being watched not just by the painting, but by the thing within it. My unease grew into a quiet terror. I started seeing movement at the edge of my vision, a flicker of shadow in a doorway, a tall figure standing just beyond the tree line at dusk. I'd turn, and there would be nothing there. The whispers became clearer, no longer just the wind but a distinct, raspy voice calling to me from empty rooms. Sleep offered no escape. My dreams were filled with the dark landscape from the painting, and I did wake up with a distinct feeling that the shadow figure had been standing over my bed. I started searching the house, desperate for an explanation, for anything that might shed light on Elias Thorne. In a loose floorboard beneath his old bed, I found it, a leather-bound journal, his diary. The first entries were filled with artistic fervor. He wrote of the house as his muse, the perfect place to create his masterpiece. He described his vision, a painting that would capture the essence of true fear, of the primordial darkness that lurks in the human soul. As I read on, the tone shifted. The entries became frantic, the handwriting more erratic. He wrote about the shadow. At first, he believed he had imagined it, a product of his artistic mind. He called it the observer, he wrote. It started in the corner of my eye, a fleeting darkness. Now, I see it even when my eyes are closed. It stands in the field, by my window, in the studio. It watches me paint. It wants to be seen. It wants to be captured. Elias became obsessed. He felt the entity was guiding his hand, forcing him to paint it, to give it form on the canvas. The turpentine smell I'd noticed? He wrote about dousing the studio in it, hoping the acrid scent would drive the presence away. The scraping sound? He'd lock himself in the attic, working on the painting for days, scraping away layers of paint in frustration, trying to get the shadow just right, to capture its terrifying emptiness. His paranoia escalated into full-blown madness. He wrote about the house changing, walls shifting, doors leading to nowhere. He felt trapped, not by the isolation, but by the thing he was painting. The painting is a window, one chilling entry read, and every brushstroke opens it a little wider. I don't know what will happen when I finish. I fear it won't be trapped on the canvas. I fear it will be set free. It whispers to me now. It says my time is almost up. It needs a new artist. A new set of eyes to see through. The last entry was a single, terrifying sentence, scrawled in a shaky, desperate hand. It's standing behind me. I slammed the diary shut, my body trembling. The house was no longer a sanctuary. It was a trap. Elias hadn't vanished. He had been consumed. He wasn't the owner. He was the first victim. I suddenly understood the realtor's strange eagerness, the impossibly low price. The house didn't want to be empty. A cold draft snaked through the room, though all the windows were shut. The scent of fresh turpentine filled my nostrils, stronger than ever before. Slowly, I turned my head toward the hallway leading to the attic stairs, and I saw it. It wasn't a trick of the light. It wasn't my imagination. Standing at the far end of the hall, half hidden in the gloom, was a tall, slender figure made of pure, featureless shadow. It didn't move. It just stood there, observing me. I backed away, my heart a frantic drum against my ribs. I stumbled into the living room, my eyes darting around in panic. My gaze fell upon a stack of old canvases I'd bought for my own hobby, for the landscapes I'd planned to paint in my peaceful new life. On top of the stack was a fresh, blank canvas propped against the wall. It wasn't there before. And next to it, resting on the floor, was a single paintbrush, its bristles dripping with wet black paint. A low, raspy whisper echoed through the silent house, seeming to come from right behind me. It was no longer calling my name. It said just one word, create. I finally understood. Elias Thorne wasn't trying to capture the shadow in his painting. The shadow was capturing him. The painting wasn't a window, it was a doorway. And with every artist it consumed, it pulled itself further into our world. My blood ran cold as I realized the horrifying truth. I didn't find the house. The house and the thing within it found me. I'm the next artist, and the masterpiece is not yet finished.